web designer, and today I'm going to talk to you about educating yourself on the internet. So, here's what Google won't teach you. This is the social online education that you're missing out on. So, I would like, let me start that again. I probably look a little bit too young to be standing on the stage, but that's actually what I'd like to talk to you about. What it's like to be young today, which mostly involves having absolutely no idea what you're doing and desperately trying to learn everything you can to figure it out. What makes this especially complicated is walking around with the internet in your pocket. These devices have completely changed our access to information. We now have open, transparent, free, and only a few taps away information to almost everything. Who's been told you can learn anything on the internet? Raise your hands. This drives me crazy. I also find that the people who tell you you can learn anything on the internet don't spend a lot of time on the internet learning things themselves. Because Google only gives you one thing. It gives you a pile of information, which doesn't end up being that useful. Information is only a small puzzle piece in the huge task of teaching yourself how to learn. So it's annoying because it's just not that simple. If learning was just a matter of having a pile of information, you and I would know how to do all sorts of really valuable things, like neuroscience and emergency medical care and astrophysics, but we don't. It takes a lot more. So it's only a small puzzle piece in the huge task of educating yourself. I'm here to annoy myself a little bit and tell you that you can learn anything on the internet. But we need to rethink how we use the internet to learn. Instead of focusing on the information, we need to marvel at the massive amount of access to people that we now have. Because people always trump piles of information. There's a proverb that explains this better than I can. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. In the case of learning online, going it alone won't even be that fast. You can go faster and learn more if you focus on finding other people who are learning the same things as you and use social media in new ways to collectively learn with them. The only reason people want to learn new things is so they can build cool stuff with and for other people. Doing this will not only be an incredible investment in yourself, but it will also be the most satisfying and fulfillingly human way to interact with our sometimes lonely digital worlds. Because information plus thousands of hours staring into your laptop alone usually ends in sadness. But information plus other human beings who can motivate us and help us structure our learning can end in a fulfilling and sustainable form of self-education. So how do I know all this? I've been in love with illustrating and visual storytelling and drawing my entire life. But we all get told that making art isn't a career choice. So instead, when I went to school, I studied anthropology because I thought it sounded more serious. But then I graduated, and I realized that I had very few valuable skills to offer the world. And so I stopped following the rules, and I hit the reset button. I started learning again independently online, and I focused on how to make my illustration skills valuable to other people. I'm no longer an unemployed anthropologist. I'm now a self-taught illustrator, designer, freelancer, and entrepreneur. Which just means I draw and design things I believe other people will find useful. So this is a comprehensive list of all the skills that I've learned online this year. I'm not saying I'm an expert in all of them, but I know the basics. Every single one of these skills that join this list joined because it helped me solve an immediate problem. I didn't have a website? Guess I had to learn how to build one. If a client asked me to send over a contract, I spent the day learning legal jargon and licensing rights. This is organic learning at its finest. You know exactly why you're learning the information, and you turn around and build something useful with it. I know I'm not an exception in the initiative I've taken to learn this stuff. There are thousands of young people just like me using the internet to learn on the fly. There's no degree that could have taught me all of these skills. Many of my former professors don't know the definitions of half these words. I'm not saying my university education was wasted or a mistake. It taught me to write well, compose arguments, and think critically. But today's young people need more. For us, online education is self-driven, it's adaptable, and for a generation that was raised online, it feels more natural. The skills you need to thrive in today's digital world just change too rapidly for a traditional school system to keep up with. I don't know enough to make big claims about the future of education. I'm just one small voice, learning as much as I can. When I use the words online education, a lot of you might be thinking I mean MOOCs, which stands for Massive Open Online Courses. In the past couple of years, many of the major universities have made their courses available online for free. This is Harvard, MIT, Yale, the really big names. A lot of them you can find on the major MOOC websites like Coursera, edX, Udemy, and iTunes. Now, MOOCs sound like a really exciting idea, but the data on them doesn't pan out. Less than 10% of people who sign up for these courses actually complete them. Because you can take neuroscience by Harvard for absolutely no money, and you don't have to be accepted by Harvard to do it, but no one takes them up on this offer. So what's wrong with this picture? The problem with MOOCs is they don't give you much more than the Google search bar. They just hand you a pile of information. They remove the human element of learning from within a community. And human connection is what compels us to power through the hard stuff. We need help knowing what to focus on. We need help making our information meaningful. We need curation, cultivation, and compassion in the difficult process of directing our own learning. What we need is human filters. Luckily, there's a whole new online learning economy that's emerging right now that's really exciting that you can join in on. It's happening on social media, and it's happening on lots of independent websites as well. For example, I'm teaching myself character design on Pinterest right now. This is a user called Character Design References who's pinned over 40,000 tutorials and sources to help other artists learn with him. I'm also trying to learn Vietnamese on YouTube with Annie. So there's plenty of online learning happening right now, and it's taking the form of forums and live chats and video calls and mentorships. The difference between this and MOOCs is that people are picking this information. This is far more than just the Google search engine deciding what to show you. Some of my favorite ones I want to talk about are Treehouse. This site teaches you coding through fun video lessons, you gain points from challenges, and has a very active community forum where people help each other when they get stuck. Another great one is Skillshare, where working experts teach practical mini courses on projects, and students show each other the whole process as they go. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much of this, so I built a resource page on my website. It's on maggieappleton.com/TEDx, where I just list my favorite tools and sites that I use to educate myself with. So if you're interested, you can look at that later. Because I really want to convince you to dive in, mostly because this is fun, but also because being able to teach yourself anything online will make you insanely valuable in this world. And that's the really hard thing to figure out when you're young, how to be valuable. how to leverage your talent and your energy to make the world better for the other human beings around you. No matter what career you choose, that's your real job. So, at this point, I'm sure my talk has been terribly convincing, and you're all waking up at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning to jump online and begin your self-education journey. Sweet. So let's get practical. I've talked a lot about finding other people to learn with, and it takes a little bit of work to find the right ones. So you're gonna need to go search for two things: your thought leaders and your tribe. Thought leaders are people who move the world in the direction that you want to see it go. These are writers, thinkers, entrepreneurs, and experts who are at the top of the ladders you're trying to climb. Now, picking idols and icons to look up to isn't terribly new. But in the pre-internet world, we would just put their poster on our wall. That's a pretty limited interaction. In today's world, we have much more access to their thoughts and beliefs. There's a theory that you're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with most. So hang out with smart people, even if it's just virtually. Follow their blogs, listen to their podcasts, read their tweets, fill your world with their voice, and they will rub off on you, even if you never meet them. Now, the best thing about thought leaders is they lead tribes. I first heard about tribes during author Seth Godin's TED Talk on them. It's a pretty simple idea. They're groups of people who are connected to each other, an idea, and a thought leader. Now, humans have always organized themselves into tribes, but now we have the internet, and it just made tribes asking questions and giving answers. No matter what weird and crazy and out there stuff, these people are going to be ground zero to build your learning community. Because once you have a trusted tribe, you can begin to make individual connections that help keep you on track. My calendar is filled with coffee dates and Skype calls and Google Hangouts with people who I share tips and resources with, who we set goals together, who we help keep our ambitions on track. One of these is my accountability partner, who I meet with weekly, and we set goals, and if you don't achieve your goal by the next week, you get punished. And it's usually by buying the other person coffee. You can also join mastermind groups, which are regular video calls where people get together and try to solve challenges and try to help each other along. These things can be huge resources for insight and inspiration. These are just a few ideas. The point here is that don't go it alone. Find real teammates because it makes the game more fun. You need to think through how you communicate with the bigger group of your tribe as well. You want to find people who are sharing for a purpose and then not just making more internet noise. I've pulled the Instagram feed from the last 48 hours in Ho Chi Minh City to point out that right now, this is the norm for sharing around the world. Pictures of yourself and your coffee. Taking an Instagram selfie doesn't tell you very much about the person on that screen, and a photo of their coffee tells you even less. This is a failed attempt at human connection. You know what's a much better way to make human connections? Learning together. And now I want to show you one of my favorite Instagram feeds. It's called #ArtistWorkout. This was started by one of the best character designers in the industry, Bobby Chu. He wanted to push young artists to sketch for 30 minutes with him every morning. Just like weightlifters, artists need workouts to flex our muscles, and it's hard to keep yourself going every day. He created a public platform that would encourage people to stay on track. So I want to encourage you to think about sharing differently. What used to be done in private studios and on desks can now be shared on screens. You can post questions on Twitter, you can post thoughts on your blog. You can sketch a small idea and Instagram it out. You can speed paint on YouTube. The opportunities are endless. You should think about sharing differently. Upgrade to sharing 2.0. Now, saying this to people scares them because it opens you up to the possibility that someone on the internet will tell you, that looks like crap. And I'm not going to lie, that might happen. The internet is full of trolls. But negative feedback also helps you learn. And more importantly, it will help you fail forwards. Each time you fail, you get a little bit better. You move forward in the game of skill building. And if you're willing to fail a lot, you'll eventually get to win. Now, this all might sound a little bit harsh, but it's no longer enough to just be traditionally educated. You have to be active and intentional about educating yourself online. There are 3 billion other people with the same internet access as you that is free and open, and many of them have already cracked the code into learning collectively beyond the Google search bar. Every day you spend lost in the internet ocean instead of harnessing your sails and playing captain of your own ship makes you a little bit less valuable to the world. But if you're a young person today, with the internet in your pocket, I know this can feel overwhelming. It can make you feel really small. I've spent a lot of time feeling small, but ever since taking my self-education journey seriously, I'm starting to feel medium-sized. So I hope this idea pushes you a little, and makes you challenge the way that you learn online. Get creative with the ways that you can connect with others. I promise it'll be a practice that pays off. And maybe it'll make you feel a little less small too. Thank you.